Timmy, where to begin with our next guest? Bobby Webster, Raptors GM, always very kind with his time. He's joining us here. Bobby, good to talk to you. How's the family? How you guys holding up?
We're good. Thanks for having me. Settling into a routine here as we prepare for a little bit of an unknown season, but all is well. No complaints. How about you all?
Well, let's dive. Yeah, we have more
besides
knowns
being
than
in
you
our
do.
basement.
Yeah, but at least we know. At least I know I'm going to be in my basement next week. Like you're in a different spot. Yeah. Bobby, there's a lot you can't tell us. I know you put in your proposals to the federal government about where to play games. Is there a point of no return date where you and Masai look at each other and go, okay, we got to make a call today? Is there a date? What is that date? Are we getting close to it?
We don't have it, but yeah, you guys are on it. It's it's in the coming days. This is not a next week type thing. This is a thing we need to start to drill in on. So I think it wouldn't be fair to any side to say, hey, this is the deadline we need to decide by. But I think as the leaders of the organization to prepare not only the players but also the staff who it could potentially affect, we'll come to a decision here.
It's interesting, and obviously it's a tough position and a position no other NBA team is in this year. And I think most folks that are listening understand the money, like even the ads around the arena being money. But when you're talking to agents and getting ready for free agency, how much concern are you hearing about where you will play your games?
It's an interesting question. It hasn't really come up too much. Obviously, it's come up with our own players just as they prepare their lives. And do I need to run a house here? Do I need to run a house there? And where we'll be playing at? But I don't think it's a huge concern because I think, let's be honest, the 72 games will get played. We'll 36 on the road, 36 at home. Like that stuff has a way of working itself out. And so it hasn't been a huge point of discussion with them.
Bobby Webster, Raptors GM here on Tim and Sid. Sorry, Tim, you had a follow-up?
No, that's really interesting. I'm surprised that agents aren't asking that. That's great.
No, I think a lot of Raptor fans are actually. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, I was going to say there are people lobbying in different cities, but as far as where we end up, I think they're all content that obviously it'll be well thought out, and their players will be in good position. So
right.
So figure out where home is going to be as priority A. Is B, C, D, E, and F Freddie? Like, is that where you're at as a GM right now? Like, is that the interest level?
I think probably Freddie's up there at the A level, so you can keep him up there.
Fair enough. How on a scale of 1 to we just got Kawhi, are you confidence wise that you can get it done with Freddie?
That's a good scale because we got Kawhi didn't happen until he actually stepped foot here, but no. We've obviously had, check-ins with him. We'll formally start the negotiations on Friday when free agency opens. But, we're happy. We're confident. He's obviously wants what he wants, and he's earned that right. And he's obviously done everything for us. And we want to reciprocate that.
Bobby Webster, the general manager of the Toronto Raptors, joining us here on Tim and Sid. Trust me when I say this. I understand that self-scouting is oftentimes the most important scouting. And when you look back at last year, it's interesting because you have the best winning percentage in franchise history, but the second round exit offsets that a little bit. Because I think it often shapes what you do moving forward. Do you guys think that you had enough last year?
It's a great question. The sting of that Game 7 loss, it dulls as time goes on, but we'll always remember. And so I think it's what you said is you want the time and the perspective to kind of, outweigh the kind of visceral response that you would have to thinking about that. And so I'd say, in the season, in the bubble, in the playoffs, we thought we had a real chance to win it. And so I think from that sense, you don't want to lose that perspective that you thought the team was really good, but at the same time, you have to face the reality of the fact that we did lose. And so, are there tweaks or are there changes that need to be made, based on that? And so, that's, you accurately describe where we are and what we're, thinking about constantly.
Other teams also thinking about it constantly as well. And I know you can't speak about players under contract, but for the sake of this conversation, the Bucks have reportedly picked up Stu Moliday from the Pelicans. What do you make of that pickup when it becomes official, or more generally, just so I don't get in trouble? What do you make of kind of the murmurs right now in the Eastern Conference, because it's the silly season seems to have descended upon us rather quickly here?
Yeah, I like that, Mr. Stew. It's a good way to put it. It happens every year, and it's not, it seems like we get the same question, but we're aware of it. We're constantly, deciding how much it affects us. I think ultimately, as you know us, we operate and feel like our decision making, we trust that, and so it's not too much affected by the outside noise. It's more affected on what we previously spoke on, which is where are the holes, where are the weaknesses on this team, what are we good at? Obviously, the continuity and the chemistry are things that we've all valued over the years. So I think from that standpoint, we're aware of it. Those are our competitors. We wouldn't kind of be doing our job properly if we won't, but I don't think it speeds anything or slows anything down for us.
I want to talk about the draft a little bit. And whenever I look at mock drafts, I think of myself, okay, how does this relate to previous Raptors drafts? So I'm just going to ask you, why is every mock draft wrong on you guys?
That's a good question. I think us. We don't talk a ton. There's not a ton of leaks, so there's probably not a lot of information that gets out as far as who we want to take. Having said that, I always tell people we have the 29th pick. We don't have a ton of leverage here. to a larger extent, we're taking who falls to us and who we have highest on our board. And it's really hard to play that out. And so I think, maybe if we're at the top of the draft or years where we've had higher picks, there's a little bit more we know. But sitting where we are today at 29, we go through the list every day and we're saying, well, maybe the guy we have ranked 10th could follow us at 29, or maybe all the guys that we like could be taken. So it's a tough position to be in from that standpoint. And all we do is just try and find the guys we really like.
We all know that the timeline is shortened here, but do you have to consider who you'll be able to keep in free agency with what you need at 29th overall?
I think our philosophy is always to take the best available player. I think this year you do bring up a good point, which you have, you're going to draft someone on Thursday or Wednesday, and you're going to tell them, see you in this case, City X a week from now. So there's maybe more of a thought around, is this guy healthy? Is he ready to go right now? You don't have the summer league of development. You don't have, a whole summer and off season to get the guy acquainted to your system. So that's a good point.
Bobby, we've all learned a lot about ourselves here in 2020. As a GM, with all that's gone on, and even this week specifically, what have you learned about yourself in this process professionally, trying to run a team amid all this?
Childcare is really hard.
That is true.
So I hear.
I just spent the commercial break welcoming my son back from a bike ride. I hope you weren't referring to your team.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We go dark on Zoom so that we can go do something with our child and magically pop back and as if nothing happened at all.
Where is the hunger right now with you guys, Bobby? Like, you're in an interesting spot here. You got your rings. You've been to the top of the mountain. Obviously, you want to go back a few more times. Like, what taste in your mouth was left after last season as you head into Friday and what the next couple of weeks hold for you?
It's what you said. It's the constant, challenge to be the best. And I think, what keeps us going and what keeps me going is each situation is different. So Kawhi leaves and we're faced with a different set of challenges. We lose game 7 in the second round. We're faced with a different set of challenges. So that kind of ever evolving, decision tree is what's really, gives you endless thoughts and, endless ability to discuss and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So I think that's it. It's kind of like that, sort of game within the game. And from a basketball standpoint, obviously evaluating the team and who's good and who's not. But I think, maybe what you touched on earlier with, other teams doing deals, it's definitely a sense of, we want to be the best, and that evaluation against them is very motivating.
Bobby Webster joining us here on Tim and Sid. When you hear, like, obviously you are measured against your opponents, and that's why you say what you just said. And when we sit here, when we already told people that you can't talk to people under contract, it's tampering and all those things. But with all the rumors swirling around right now, do you have to be in on those conversations just so that you can measure up? Like, do you think that, an established star would be a fit on this team at this time? Or is that not something that you guys are looking at this juncture?
No, definitely. You can take whatever established star you want, and we've had that conversation. Do they fit with us? What do you have to give up? So I think that's constant. I think the other part that does come at us quick, which we have to respond to, is just the timing of it all. And I think we all saw this over the past week, which is obviously we had 9 months here to talk about deals, but things come quick, and so you want to make sure you are talking to the right teams and right people just to make sure that you're not potentially missing out. Because I think realistically, right, if you had a player available, you're not calling every 29, all 29 of their teams and say, send me your best deal by tomorrow at 6, right? There's a bit of a relationship. There's a bit of give and take. And so you do want to make sure that, we all have our kind of finger on the pulse here.
How does your team get better over the next 10 days or so? Like, where are you focusing on?
So you take your current roster. Obviously, we have, all-star point guard in Kyle, and I think he's, just continually proving people wrong again and again. And, how long can you play at this level? You have Freddie who's young and wants to get better. And, I think by all accounts, hasn't reached his peak yet. So, you can go down the roster, OG, Pascal, I think we have a nice mix of, as we saw last year, some veterans and young guys who have room to grow. So I think that's where you start. Right. And then the draft, as we've seen, it's not a guarantee. It's a chance to get better. And then free agency, whether it's around the edges and, we'll try and find a sleeper here or there. So, those are the typical ways. And then when you see the names that are being discussed, those are obviously the kind of jolts to the system that you can utilize as well. So those are kind of all at our disposal, but I think we have the ability to grow internally and have our young guys get better while some of the veterans maintain their really high level. And then, the fit, the chemistry, having Coach Nurse, tinker, and all the crazy and fun ways that we love is another great, asset that we have.
Bobby Webster, General Manager of the Toronto Raptors, joining us here on Tim Sid. Before I let you go, there are a lot of people on Twitter asking us to ask you about your future and Masai Ujiri's future. Do you know when you'll know?
Great question. I mean, I think it's obviously a tough, situation around the world, but, we don't typically comment on this. And I think, we'll publicly say something when we do know more, and we'll leave it at that.
All right, Bobby, listen, we appreciate the time. We know that this is a condensed timeline, to say the least, and a very busy time for everybody. So we appreciate you not only doing this, but putting up with our technical difficulties as we work from our basements with our kids coming in from bike rides.
Thank you.
I always enjoy it. Thanks for having me.